Be quiet. Creepy. Small group today, huh? You can clap for that. There you go. People on vacation. Oh, it's cold and rainy. You think that excuse didn't happen a few times? Anyway, hey, good job for being here. While Brandy's getting our tech stuff squared away, if anybody would like to move forward for the 5th time, we have 5 seats right here. The spit zone is taken. So if you guys were going to rush up here for that, but let's lead off with the stuff we lead off with this Southland, guys. Caring and sharing. What's going on in your world? Something fun, something funny. Who wants to lead off? Yes. Belize. Has anybody ever been to Belize? You'd be the only person. Tell us all about it, right? Considered one of the diving capitals of the world. Oh, can you snorkel? Well, so you'll get to see it. Oh, okay. Well, be sure and say goodbye to her. Yeah. Carrie's going to be swimming with sharks. If you owe her any money, please settle up. Yeah, yeah, both ways.
So my husband has passed his real estate class and our test and finished the practice class. So we just have to submit his information to get his license.
All right. Another husband and wife team. That's fantastic. We got a lot of them. Yes. Yeah. Who else, guys? What's going on? Todd.
And so we got to see a Battlehawks game and watch USL. And so we actually get together a couple years ago now, a lot of fun, and then go to Soulard and some of the other fun areas of St. Louis and Dirks and some of those places after the fact, and get to have libations there. So it's a good time.
Cool. That sounds like fun.
That's why you have
The Lou. What do you got, Josh?
Got my first referral to another agent closing next week, which is kind of cool. You know, have a 30-minute phone call with somebody. Call an agent. That's down in Joplin.
Yeah.
Judy Lowe, I think is the agent's name. She's doing a great job. My clients are super happy with her.
How did tell everybody how you found her? Did you use the referral thing through Command, or did you just kind of?
No, so I actually reached out to Tom Ferry, their coaching. There's an agent that we thought was down there, so I called him. It turns out he doesn't work in that area, but he sends all this stuff to Judy, and she's with KW down there.
Oh, how nice.
So then I called her, and yeah, things gone really well. They're closing next week. The people are excited. This kid I knew from Scouts, hadn't talked to him in 15 years.
Wow.
But he watches all my home tours and sees all that stuff. So he reached out and said, hey, he asked if I would help him. I was like, Joplin? No. But, and then I was able to refer them.
Yeah.
So exciting, getting a little mailbox money. So.
Absolutely. And then don't hesitate to put her in your list that should she ever have anybody for the Kansas City area, right? That's kind of a win-win deal. That's outstanding. Good for you. Congratulations. By the way, if you guys ever have a referral for Joplin, the office down there is fantastic. It's much like Southland. They're the big fish in their pond. I mean, they have like 50% of the agents are KW agents down there. And that wasn't the case. You guys remember the tornado that hit down there? Had a really small office. It was kind of struggling. And then the other real estate offices pretty much got demolished. So they let all the agents work out of their office during the downtime. And sure enough, the people became friends and the office flourished.
Yeah, I think she recently switched over. But that was just
Good.
wasn't necessarily
Cool.
looking, but it turns out she's a good KW agent.
Good. I like that. That's cool. What do we got? Oh, Ryan. Yeah.
I'm definitely old now. I am the owner of Bees. We bought some Bees last week. And I actually, I'm 12 and they gave me 13 Bees and that was actually a freebie. Yeah. So I bought 2 hives and I've got 120,000 bees on my property now. And we're making honey out there, not weed, but they are. They don't ever stop. And so we've got a new little enterprise going out there.
You have a cool outfit.
Yeah, got it. Just got it. Yeah, you definitely want to be.
We're gonna have to do it.
Do you have one? Not see the bees then.
Yes.
They're there, they're working.
Was chickens, now it's beans.
They did. All right. Good. Good. Congratulations. Ah, who else? Oh man, here they come.
Josh and I got to wear ourselves out last week and we went down and hiked 65 miles, 67 in Arkansas, and the 223-mile trail. So we've broken it up over the years, but it's
Cool.
fun and hard work. And it does remind me I'm a little older than I once was. So it is. That was 4 days and then 5 miles out. So we did about average of 15 or 17 miles.
Wow. Good for you. I don't even like to drive that far. Yeah, right? Yes, Carol.
After 18 years, our riding lawnmower died. So Tom got his dream, a 0-turn radius mower. I took pictures yesterday. He was so excited. You should have seen him right now.
Where is he out driving it today? What's
No,
he?
he's actually out, talking to a client right now.
Okay. Got it. Got it.
Yeah, he was.
0 turn. Yeah. Is it? Okay.
There it is. Caesar was trying to teach me how to do it, and I was running into the house, and so I was ready to bail. The blade wasn't on, but I ran over his foot. I got it now. Bail. Yeah, we love that story. But yeah, awesome, that's good. I was wondering where that was going, the 18-year-old mower dying.
Mhm.
All right, what else, Darren? Darren has something good.
I, like Todd, I went back in time over the weekend. Buddy of ours from school, Fabian Shepherd, and I went to a concert. You youngins won't know who these bands were, but Shooting Star and Missouri. Missouri has a couple of Raymore people in it, the lead singer and the guitar, bass, I think he plays bass. Anyway,
Wow.
good time up at Ameristar. Kind of good to see those two old bands again that were around in the early 80s, 70s.
What day did you go to America?
What
What day?
day? 70.
They had military thing up there Saturday night. We went up there and went to see them.
Nice.
We could,
There you go.
Just had some loud music.
Everybody in their formal wear, it's pretty cool.
Very good. Anything else? Anything else going good? Anybody got kids graduating this year? I got one. You got some? You got some? Yeah, that's coming up. There we go.
Anybody's kids not graduate? Yeah. Second year senior, is that what it's called? Something like that, or, yeah. Good.
All right, anything else? Anything good? All right, we're moving on. All right, we'd love to hear from our preferred vendors. We love these guys. We appreciate them. Let's start with Todd today. How about you? Come on up.
Todd B.
All right, so a couple years ago, do you remember, oh yeah, thank you, buddy. A couple years ago, do you remember when the market was so crazy hot that you were struggling sometimes to put deals together because people were willing to pay way over list and they often waived everything to hit it, right? Last week I was in a house, I was looking at a house and the price was so attractive that it was like, something's weird. So I wanted to go look at it. And it was, for possible, you'll fix it up, flip it. And, it was a house that they just dropped the price 50,000. So got in there and immediately realized that the floor was sinking. And at an angle. So when you looked at the house, every piece of where the ceiling met the wall had fallen. And there was like 2-inch gaps. In the garage, there was literally daylight on the floor as well as the thing. So the house would just start to shift and below your feet, you could feel it unsettled. And it was a slab house, so it was falling. Went back and did a little research on this house. Okay, so I always like to look it up. And so 2 years ago, it sold for $50,000. And then it resold, no, a few years ago, it sold for 50. It resold 2 years ago for 190. And the VA did a veteran loan. And so it sold for 190, but it really sold for 199 because they added $9,000 in closing costs. So the VA's on the hook for 200 grand on that house. And my guess is that the people who bought it for 50 slapped it together and then in short order resold it. And that veteran had no idea. So I don't know, you guys, I struggle with, and I'm not a lawyer, so I need to be, but candidly, I know you guys have, I listen to a lot of you say that, you know, that's the only way to get a deal is to waive everything.
I would say that this is a perfect example of something just a few years could go by and you start to see the ramifications of waiving, all the inspections and things like that. Now, it did make it do a VA appraisal, okay, so, but if you know how to fix up a house, you can fix up a house cosmetically and get somebody to look at it who's just looking at value and not looking, appraiser's not looking at the mechanicals of the house, right? There's a few things, so anyway, interesting, the Department of VA has that house for sale, it's, it's like 140 something now. Candidly, it's probably a tear down. I mean, I don't know, I didn't do past the holy smoke.
So this is a foreclosure.
Foreclosure.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, VA took it over, so VA is a seller now. So, and it has perfectly new, carpet, and the appliances are new, they just went in and slapped it all together, so. Interesting, the property, but it just made me think back to a few years ago when the market was so volcanic hot. And that the only real way that to get a deal together was to do that. And I don't know what the specifics on that. I didn't want to look at who the agents were or any of that stuff. Or even the seller. I can look all that up. But it really looked like it was just a flip that, some unsuspecting buyer got into that sucker and had no idea what they were about to get into. So.
Okay.
Anyway, just letting you guys know, interesting tidbit.
Well,
Thank you.
thanks, Tom.
Let's do, Lisa Hutchings with Pop Out.
Lisa.
So these little flyers that you have, this is a service that we have, where just like when you call into your bank or your electric company, whatever, they have that automated, AI system. So some of the questions that the clients call in for, they can get answered there, like, how do I do my earnest money, or, things like that. So, they wanted us to point out the fact that it is the person on there is named Betty. So anytime you have somebody that, my client talked to Betty, that's the AI system, just so that you realize that. And then we have, I just want to do a reminder, there's a ton of transaction coordinators, wonderful, fantastic, great. But sometimes, we have transaction coordinators that don't respond well, to our requests. We try to always include the agent and the TC on emails. My big thing that I want to point out is ultimately, it's the agent's responsibility to get us the things, answer our emails. We had a situation, where we received a response from the agent saying, that's my TC's responsibility. Ultimately, we need that board. So just keep that in mind. It may be your TC's responsibility, but ultimately for us, it's between you and I. So just wanted to remind you of that. Also, if you have anything that you guys need, some, training material, some questions answered, anything like that, please feel free to stop in. We're always willing to do any kind of, little class or something like that.
Thanks, Lisa.
Thank you.
Good stuff. Yeah.
We appreciate you. Let's see, we got Apex here with Rustlin and Raylin. We got Real Talk with Rusty and Raylin.
Hey, everyone. Speaking of veterans, we just had a phone call the other day. Inspections could not be more important. I know everyone's getting a good price doing as is and all the things, but probably the most important thing on those big ticket items, other than just roofs, your septic, your sewer, things completely clogged and collapsed. The guy had no idea, he has no money to fix it. So now he has to apply for financing. Of course, we're gonna do what we can to help, but just remember how important those inspections are.
So, thank you.
That's it, ladies. Good job. Thank you. Hey, can I interrupt real quick? Just so you guys know, when we get to my moment, we're going to spend about 20 minutes on 7 different techniques to get offers accepted. And we're going to cover some of the things that Todd just mentioned. as far as is addendums. We're gonna hit some bullet points and 4 or 5 new, not necessarily new techniques, but techniques we seldom saw. And I'm starting to see it coming in on my listings, and a couple of them have been very effective. Nanette and I missed out on a deal where we probably should have used some of these tools, and we just haven't focused on it as a team. So we're gonna focus on it now. So I'm gonna share some of that with you guys, just FYI.
Okay, any other vendors that I'm not seeing, Royal? Okay, all right. Well, we appreciate them too.
Morning, yeah.
All right, our calendar this week, is not right. There is not a senior resources, that's left over from another week, so I'm gonna move on. All right, buyers listings and open houses, or we're gonna hit the rest of it. Anybody got buyer needs? You got some new listings? What you got, Jen?
It's not my listing, but for all these investors, since we started this class up, there will be a house coming in Archie, I believe it's a two-bedroom, I want to say it's a 2-story, from 25,000 on a lot. So if everybody doing the flip thing, that might be a good investment. In the next week or two, from what the agent said.
Cool.
Who else has got, listings, new listings, or something coming on soon?
I've got one in the pre-MLS, trying to schedule pictures now. It's in Ward Park Place. We're listing it for 365. It's a front to back split, 3-car garage. Back to green space, has granite, green porch off the back, all the things. So,
All the things.
yeah, probably gonna go live. We're discussing it in about 2 weeks.
Is that a 3-bedroom or 4?
So I'm sorry, 2.
Okay, 3, but 3-car garage. Okay,
Non-conforming.
got it.
Good.
That'll be a hot one.
Oh, what you got?
I've got one coming to Lacey Estates on the 8th. It is, the ranch with a full basement. Inside's been totally done. It's on a about 3/4 acre lot in Lacey Estates, which is very unusual, and it's got a detached garage. It'd be $255. It's top of the price in the area, but it's also very nice for the area.
Cool.
Anybody else got some listings? Laura?
I have, a listing, she's about to reduce the price I gave you for, Harrisonville, 4-bedroom, 2.5 bath, great open format. And, okay, we posted more pictures and we can advance to the open house, please.
What's the price point right now?
$299.
$299.
Yeah, we're working on, but we're gonna lower it too. I have some other ones.
Okay. All right. Any other listings we wanna talk about?
The Raintree property is, that I have with the pool, the 1.5-story, 4-bedroom. Looks like that we're light at the end of the tunnel here, so we're, probably looking at the end of May. So, pool's gonna get open, so we know that it's operational. The interior paint's just getting done. We're putting in new carpet. And after my conversation tomorrow, I think the exterior is gonna get painted too. So it'll be a good property. 429.9 Raintree Lake.
Mon, you got some stuff?
Yeah, we got Raintree Villas. We put one on last week. I thought it would sell first weekend, but it didn't. But nice, finished up and down, 3-bedroom, 3-bath, backs up to the community pond for $485. Really nice place. A little bit dated in some spots, right? But it's solid. Yeah, it's a great location.
Get your husband in here and then you'll have a week. That's what we're doing.
Pleasant Hill, Treasure Bridge, 385, 3-bedroom, 2-bath, nearly a half-acre fenced, lot, 3-car garage, 285. They were coming this week. And then the one in Harrisonville, it's taking forever. It's, gonna be, 285. And it's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, and it's all redone. Like, even the fence. That's the one we do. So it's getting ready to come on. It's gonna be a great conference when I do it.
Better get it before Sandy then. Ryan, you got something, listings or anything you wanna highlight?
Done, yeah, next week.
Okay. Good deal. Come back next week.
I still have my Greenville property that I would love for you guys to help me get sold. She's trying to buy another house and we're set. But we're gonna look forward to 3
All right, how about buyer needs? What kind of buyer needs we got? you pick up buyers? No
No?
buyers.
Oh, I
we
guess
got
we're more
buyers.
of a listing company.
You got a buyer?
Greenwood, they really like to leave Summit West, Golden, but they'll do a tax now, so.
Okay.
I thought it was got some very get rid of those, very good, but for sure.
Okay, what was yours, Tom, in Rain Creek? What was it?
4-bedroom, story and a half,
Price, sorry.
$429,900.
429.
430.
430, he said 430. Here you go. Pull that together. I can get this.
And that's Lee Summit West, isn't it? Or, yeah, yeah.
That's Raintree off of Raintree Drive, so the older part, Royal Court.
So that's Lee Summit West, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Says Lisa went west or Ray Tag, it's gotta be one of
Done.
those.
No, it's Lee Summit West, it's not Ray
There
Tag.
we go.
Yeah, sorry, I wasn't paying attention.
She wants Lee Summit West. Sandy, Tom, Sandy. Okay, sold. Any other deals we need to put together?
I'll send you over the agreement.
I got a finder's fee. All right, any other buyer needs we have you wanna highlight? Everybody's found everything you need. It's just all out there right now. It's that easy. All right, done and done. Open houses, anybody have an open house? I know it's Tuesday, but maybe you have an open house you wanna tell us about? Okay. We're moving faster. All right, care committee. We got John and we got Nanette. Is either one of, who's coming?
It's Mother's Day next weekend or next.
All right, it's John.
I've been out of town. I can't remember.
Yeah, so just a reminder, the care committee basically exists to, show care and affection and support for people within the Market Center and our family that are having a hard time. So if you know of anything going on, we don't know unless you let us know, because we're not always all connected all the time, even though we have a good page and stuff like that. But oftentimes we don't want to publicly put something out there that somebody's going through privately. So just make sure you connect with Nanette or myself or any of the leadership team, obviously owners and stuff like that. But if you ever have a need, let us know. And then if you have an idea of how you think we could better support, whether it be food ideas or just any ideas in general of when people go through these things that you think would be neat, be sure to contact us, or if we have a meeting coming up, we'll come join us. Let us know. So that's basically it. Does anybody have anything for the care committee?
Well, what have you told them, you don't have to name names, but what have you told them some of the projects you guys have done recently or some of the things
So,
you've done?
yeah,
recently?
so what we'll do oftentimes is, if someone loses a close loved one or is going through a hard time, we'll meal train for the, evening meals, stuff like that. We'll do like a list, of providing that or catering that, getting that provided for them, so they have to worry about it. Flowers at, passing sometimes, a lot of us, we have families out of state or it's not local. So oftentimes if somebody goes through something, maybe their parents live, a distance away, it's nice just to get flowers on behalf of all of Southland. So that's something that, that's representing everyone, collectively. And then, some other things more personal is if, just reach outs, phone calls, texts, a card, thinking of you, a little Chick-fil-A card, type thing. Brighten your day kind of thing. So that really is, very important. So we all know that. We've all been through a lot of things in life. So if somebody's going through something like that, it's nice to get, or somebody kind of feels me, right? A lot of people, we can get in, a scenario in life where something's challenging and you'll start to kind of feel like maybe, oh, I'm on an island and I'm just working and just, and then when somebody reaches out and they send you a card, or they reach out, or they call you, it's like, that means something. So just bringing people up, okay?
Love that.
So.
Appreciate you guys.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thanks, John. How's Andrea doing after her car accident and broken arm? She doing all right?
Thank you.
Sorry.
Sorry,
Yeah.
Yeah, so last week, for those who don't know, Andrea West had a vehicle accident, I guess, with a pole that wouldn't move, right? And
Glad you said that.
thank goodness, she's okay.
Yeah.
Reached out to Devon, I know I did, many other people did. But she is making a full recovery. They're doing well. Looks like, on social media, they're right back into getting after it. So, but, yeah, that's the most I know. Do you have anything to?
I don't, no, no.
I think that, but
I was
yeah,
just curious,
so
but-
thank goodness she's okay.
Yeah.
So,
I would just say this, that if somebody kind of crosses your mind or, they're kind of on your heart a little bit, reach out and just say hi. Maybe you say somebody in this, that's normally here, but we haven't seen them for a few weeks. Why don't you just give them a call or shoot them a text? Say, hey, thinking about you, is everything okay? You never know what people are going through. We all show up here, we're smiling, we're having a good time, but you never know when people, what they're carrying. So, you don't have to go through the care committee for that. You don't have to, this is your permission to reach out to your fellow agents. And if someone's just on your mind, just reach out, see how they're doing. All right, if you are in coaching, one of our coaching agents or interested in being in coaching, there will be a coaching meeting on the first Monday of the month, which is next Monday. We're already in May next Monday, 10 a.m. This is for all agents in coaching to kind of get together. We powwow together. We kind of come up with some strategies, answer questions, that kind of stuff, get some tips and pointers for getting back at it for the month. So that is next Monday at 10 a.m. Red Day. Stephanie, Alice here.
I can actually.
Yeah, please do, Ryan. Come on up. Tell us, because this is coming up next week.
Yeah, next Thursday, we've got Red Day, we've got a few things happening. I know we've got a couple things going on with meals that are gonna be prepared. We've got some amazing chefs in the room, and so that's awesome. And then we've also got a vendor, that I reached out to at Texas Roadhouse. They're gonna supply catering to a third location, because I'm not cooking. And so I'm gonna meet with them on Thursday when they get back from their business trip. So we've got a lot of the food covered. I don't know who all signed up to go serve on next Thursday. It's gonna be an awesome opportunity.
There's not enough hands up.
Yeah, everybody knows right now's the time. So yes, you're in.
Yeah.
And so it'd be great. If you've never served at the Ronald McDonald House, it's gonna make your day better. I promise you that. These families are going through some of the toughest times I pray I never had to go through or never have to go through with future family. And we get to show up there and be there for them and simply have a meal and some fellowship with those guys. It's really a great opportunity. And it's part of why we do what we do at Keller Williams. So Red Day is designed around that and giving back to the community. So I'm super pumped about that. We got 3 locations. I don't know all locations. The details will come forward, but if you want to do this, schedule your time for next Thursday. I believe I blocked off from like 8 a.m. just for prep work. I don't think we have to start that early. I don't know
She
that.
said 10 to 2.
Yeah, 10 to 2. So it's the middle part of the day, but I'm starting earlier, obviously, because I get told what to do. But anyway, so we've got a chunk of time during the middle of your day that we're gonna ask you for, but again, great opportunities, and then obviously get to connect with some of our other agents that we might not see day to day and do that. Francesca, did you have something that you want to add?
First of all, thank you for doing this. It's for one, my husband spent 2 weeks with his daughter, a 2-year-old, broke her heart actually. So, I volunteered to go into the hospital. I cannot wait. I'm so excited. So I just wanted to thank you and your wife to get this going. And I need 2 chefs because I'm going to do it.
Absolutely. Who likes being told what to do? You guys are all business owners. Yeah, it's all right, but she's a great leader, so she'll coach you through on certain things that need to get done. So please sign up if you haven't done it yet. It's next Thursday, so we've got plenty of time to get it on your calendar. Open up your calendars now, get it on there, and then get with Stephanie or Brandy, and they'll get you coordinated, and we're gonna have an awesome time next Thursday. Red Day.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks, Ryan.
Nikki, did you have anything to add? I saw your hand up. Nikki, anything to add on that? You good?
Just meet here about 8:30 in the morning and come on, go together, so if we go together, follow each other.
Gotcha.
Do I take a photo?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Agreed. Wear your red shirt. Yep.
I think Stephanie's having some shirts made as
Yeah.
well.
Is it too late to order a shirt though? I think it might be too late, but just put on a red shirt or one of your older shirts from last year. I will say please RSVP if you haven't done so already, because I know Stephanie's trying to figure out, put groups together for the 3 locations and make sure we have enough staff for all 3 locations. So I'll put this in Facebook, it's already there, but we'll post it again and bring it to the top. All right, Red Day. All right, today, there is an agent tour over in Winnebago. Brian posted this, I was gonna post it, you beat me to it, 'cause I think it's pretty cool. These are cool houses. This is the Destination Home Team, Caleb Drinker, and if anybody's worked with him. But these are his houses and they're, 2.3 million, 2.6 million. They're offering free lunch, crumble, and then, gift cards to Quick Trip and maybe tickets to the Royals game. So if you go, take your business cards. Don't forget them. But anyway, it's a cool, if you're interested, I do have some printouts for the, addresses if you want. We'll just. Cool to go see some of these houses that you may not have seen otherwise. Wells Building Club, if you haven't joined the Facebook group, join that because our next meeting is coming up May 21st. Put that on your calendar, 3 PM. You want to say anything about that one, Lonnie?
Yeah, I mean, the main topic is we're gonna have kind of a panel situation is how do we find these properties? What are the different outlets that you can possibly locate a property, either for yourself or for your client, to fix and flip, to put into a portfolio, whatever that looks like. And there's multiple ways. So we're just gonna talk about how some of these people have had success finding these properties. And guys, I will tell you this right now, word of mouth is a big thing. If you put out, you guys put all kinds of crap on social media. How about putting some stuff out there saying, hey, looking for fixer uppers, these locations, nothing is out of bounds, the more work, the better, that kind of stuff. If you have 2,000 people on Facebook, you think somebody might respond? It's very likely they would, yeah.
Don't buy it, maybe just list it and sell it, right?
Yeah,
Love that idea.
yeah, just by all means. And then those people now are thinking, they're like, oh, I didn't realize Ryan was out there looking for those kind of properties. If they do come across a unique situation, you may be, front of mind, which is what we need to be doing more of for sure.
Yes, 3 PM. Yep, 3 PM with a happy hour to follow. Good question. All right, I have a few things, and since Darren wasn't gonna talk and share, because we're all doing everything just right, Darren, is that right? Is that what you said?
Everything's perfect.
Everything is perfect. No challenges, no problems, no.
Yeah. Yeah.
Glad it's you and not me, Darren. I couldn't do what you do, so. But Caesar also had something that he had to scoot. He was here, he's gone, he'll be right back. So I'm gonna take their time. And I've got a few things that I wanted to show. There's gonna be times, has anybody ever hit a ceiling? Feel like you've hit a ceiling in life or in business? And you're like, dang, I just keep hitting the same ceiling. I can't get past so many units. There's so much in volume. I just can't, I'm a $3 million producer and I so badly want to be a $5 or $6 million producer. And you kind of hit that ceiling and every year you just keep hitting it. Well, that's this. This is one of the 6 personal perspectives for Keller Williams. And I like the E to P. Tim, quick quiz. What does E to P mean?
Entrepreneurial to purposeful.
Entrepreneurial to purposeful. A lot of us get into this business because we're very entrepreneurial by nature. We like to be that way. And honestly, a lot of us have ADHD. Did you notice that? To varying degrees. So, we find good company. No, exactly. I'm not in a box. No boxes. Leave my options open, please. So yeah, E to P means moving from being entrepreneurial to purposeful, because entrepreneurial is great. It's a great way to start. It's what gave us all the fuel to get this thing going, but it won't take you to where you want to go. It will take you so far, you'll hit a ceiling, and then you've got to change some things. And another way to look at it is entrepreneurial to purposeful. Try to spell entrepreneurial. Sometimes hard to say. What's that?
That's why it's E to P.
That's like E to P. It also could be from easy to painful. That's another way to think of it. I heard that the other day. I was like, that's kind of true, because when you do what's easy, and a lot of us get into this business and we kind of do what we have natural inclination to do, and it works for a lot of us. And then you kind of get to a place where you're like, okay, I'm kind of maxed out with my skill set. I'm maxed out with what I can do and what I've brought to the table. And it's time to tweak some things. And that's where the purposeful part comes in. We function out of like a default or like a default. That's the best word I've got right now. But there's a time and a place where we got to take it into a different gear that maybe we've never kicked it into. And so that's this picture right here. And I'll just, so this is the ceiling. That black line is the ceiling. And we all start here with E and we hit the ceiling. Well, what happens is the first time you hit the ceiling, you kind of back a bit with some disappointment. So this is the cycle, disappointment, then resignation, go, well, maybe this isn't for me. I thought I was gonna be good at this and, it's not going the way I thought it was gonna go. And then you kind of it knocks the wind out of your sails a little bit. Has anybody experienced that? Yeah.
I've been trying to quit for years.
So what happens is then you start dreaming of greener pastures. You start to compare yourself to other people, go, well, they're doing it and they're kicking tail and they're listing properties like crazy. Why can't I? Well, maybe I'm just not meant to do this. Well, that's the E to P. You keep bumping your head on the same ceiling here. So how do we break through? Well, we break through with training, coaching, and consulting. Maybe you need to schedule an appointment with me. Maybe Lonnie, maybe one of our ALC members. There's people around here that would be happy to sit down with you and brainstorm with you. How do we break through this ceiling? What tools are out there? Let's consult where you're at, what you got to work with, and where you want to go. And let's get you through there. So the way you do that is with FOMSA.
What?
FOMSA. That's how we're gonna break through. It rhymes with FOMSA. So, I think it's focus, options, models, systems, and accountability. Those are the things that we need to break through that ceiling. Now, a lot of us, we start with focus. Okay, I'm gonna get focused. I'm gonna hunker down. I'm gonna do this. And you might reach out for some accountability and go, hey, coach, hey, team lead, hey, I want to be held accountable. I'm gonna turn in my numbers. And we kind of start with the top one and the bottom one. And that might work for a minute. And we're gonna hit another ceiling. Because we need the middle part, the options, the models, and the systems. We need all of that. And so the cool thing is that if you've got the desire, you've got the drive, we've got the rest. Keller Williams is amazing at their models, their systems, showing you options. The way has already been paved. We just get with somebody that can talk you through the models and the systems. There's great models and systems right in here, in these books, and we got more. There's more training than we could ever get through. And so never feel stuck. Don't stop at that ceiling and just go, well, this didn't go the way I thought. I wasn't made for this business. This isn't for me. Maybe let's have a talk. Maybe hearing another perspective, maybe even hearing the same thing you've heard a million times before, but hearing it a different way or from a different person, it might land a little differently. And it might be just the thing that you need to light that fire in you and get this thing going again. So let's not stay stuck in entrepreneurial. Let's not stay stuck under that ceiling. Let's break through. And once we break through, we're like, oh, this. Have you ever done that? Like you look at something hard, there was at one time something looked hard and you did it and you accomplished it and you achieved and you're like, oh, well, that wasn't so bad at all. But what happens again? We run into another ceiling. It's a cycle. So there's not just one ceiling, right? And this is for life. If you run into a ceiling and you break through it, there's gonna be another one. Brian, how about jujitsu? You hit a ceiling at some point, you kind of felt.
Freaking boring, I guess.
Every freaking morning. Absolutely. You keep going back, you got a coach, you got someone there to teach you how to tweak things, see things you never saw, learn skills you didn't have.
We take notes on that. Do those. Back in, punish some more, we learn, we get better, we improve, we take notes, and we cycle that, we keep cycling that.
Absolutely.
And then eventually you have that breakthrough moment, you're like, holy smokes, this works. Then you get smashed again, there's that next ceiling, and then you go back down, but again, you keep working through those ceilings.
Yes.
Yeah, it's persistence over time.
Absolutely, and I would just encourage you, I mentioned this at our last ALC meeting. I've heard this statement and it really, I've still been chewing on it every day a little bit for the last couple of weeks about adversity is a privilege. Adversity is a privilege. And at first I was like, wait a minute, hold on, let me think about that. Adversity is a privilege because when things are hard, when things get tough, when things don't go the way we think, it causes us to dig a little deeper. It causes us to ask different questions, have different conversations, grow. It's if somebody else is doing something you want to do, it's just because they figured it out and you haven't yet. Doesn't mean you can't, doesn't mean that's not for you, it just means they figured it out, you're still in the process. And trust me, they got their own things they're struggling with. Never compare, that's a bold law, don't compare your insides to somebody else's outsides. But anyway, the adversity, if you're hitting adversity and you're hitting that ceiling, it's for your good, believe it or not. If you look at it that way, because in that adversity that you could actually grow, you become somebody you weren't before. You gain some kind of muscle and endurance and persistence that you didn't have before. And that's a good thing. That's a good thing for business. That's a good thing for life, right? And because if everything was just smooth and every house you listed, well, first of all, you listed all the houses, they all sold, all your buyers were happy, everything was good, the bills are paid, everything is great. What does that even mean? There's no challenge that comes with it. If everything is just smooth sailing all the time, it means nothing. But when you have to struggle and you have to fight and you have to grapple with something, and then you find that victory, it means more, right? Have you ever had those deals that you had to fight for? Those clients you had to push for, and when you cross that finish line, everybody feels battle broken and wounded and torn, and everybody's bleeding, and then you kind of, you get across that finish line together. Y'all can hug and high five, and you feel like you went to war together.
I like when those problems come up, and you guys all have those problems in your transactions, and they really suck, don't they? And when that happens, I always tell myself, this is why we make the big bucks. And I get energized around that. I'm like, this is why we get compensated the way we do. The things that we do for our clients at the next level, when everybody else wants to quit, we go that extra mile. And I'm okay asking for the commission that I ask for from every client because of the problems, but the level will solve them for them. And just be committed to solving the problem and not giving up, don't take no for an answer, things like that.
Absolutely. It's the hard ones that make the easy ones, it all balances out, and you can appreciate both, and I'm glad we did both.
Ones too,
Yes.
but they're not always.
That's right. Absolutely right. So, all right, so moving from E to P, you feel stuck, let's talk. Call me, let's set up an appointment, jump on my calendar, and let's have a chat. Sound good? All right. All right, Lonnie, there you go.
Cool. I wanted to add something to what Brandy said. We've made a decision as a market center. Obviously, we like to grow, right? Well, that's all good. But this concept of bringing in 3, 4, 5 strangers into the market center every month, and 3 or 4 or 5 strangers leaving us every month, it's unhealthy. It's just not what we really want to do. Now, when there's agents with other market or different offices that want to join us that kind of are fit here, then that's a different conversation. Would you guys agree? So what we're trying to do is obviously have those interviews and identify those people that could be a good cultural fit, and then we can help them grow. But we have 127 people that already raised their hand that are with us, okay? Some are full-time, some are want to be full-time, some are part-time, and many are dual career, right? So what about those people? How do we help our people get whatever they want to be? Not everybody wants to, we have 20-something people, I think 26 or 28 people, 6 figures and above. That's a crazy ratio for a small market center. Trust me, it's crazy. But that's exciting because most of them started at 0. That's really, really cool. But how do we get the people that don't want that? How do we get them from 2 transactions to 4, from 4 to 6, and so on and so forth? Or just make their life a little bit easier. The way they do business maybe becomes a little easier, less stressful, and those sorts of things. You see that? That's the support of a market center. That's the synergy that we're trying to create. And we have a lot of people that haven't done any transactions, but I think many of them want to. So let's see if we can stoke the fire again, get them engaged. Now, if people can't, not everybody can attend team meeting. Not everybody can be on Zoom calls. Not everyone can come to trainings. I totally get that. The new system that you just launched, Agent Kickstart. If people can't do any of that, we're probably not going to be a great fit. So we've got to figure out what you can engage to learn this business. Agent Kickstart, again, I'll just go, we've got to get half our market center signed up. If we're not signed up, and please give me an update on that when you get a chance. I'm sorry, I forgot to ask you that. Know where you're at. And then, by the way, just signing up for something doesn't do it, right? Go join a gym and see how much weight you lose. If you don't go to the damn gym, it ain't going to work, right? That's how that goes. So we got to be sure we're engaging these things. And by the way, when you sign up, we get to watch your engagement, which is so cool, right? So where's Erica? She's not here. But I could say, hey, Erica, great job for signing up. At what point do you actually start using this training? So, and only with Erica can I say that because we have that kind of relationship. Some of you other guys, every once in a while, I'll just be thinking of you and you get a text from me, and I'm not trying to be critical of you in any way, shape, or form. I'm trying not to look at anybody, but nonetheless, I'm just kind of hinting that I think a few changes here or there might help you in your business. And the only reason I do that is because over 20 something years of doing this, I've seen some different patterns. And I also, there's some people in this room right now, one of these caused them to break through, just like Brandy's talking about. And now they have big businesses, big lives, big investments and things like that. Nathan Priest not here today, the number one example of that. So Scott Swagger, I could just go on and on. All right, let's talk about some things that I think are pretty cool. First and foremost, we're going to talk about tools, and I'm going to make fun of myself and Nanette. I'm making fun of you too. Is that cool? Us, because I think we're pretty good at what we do, but if we are not looking internally of how you can improve, then you're missing the boat. And I think on the buyer side of the business, we can get better and we will get better. I don't know about you guys, but I want to win even the most competitive offers. You're not going to win them all. Would you guys agree? In fact, if you are winning them all, are you really representing your customer? Because there are times it's best it's time, just say, hey, this guy's willing to do something stupid to get this house. We're going to make a good business decision. I don't feel bad when that happens. I don't know about you guys. I mean, yeah, we want our people to get it, but you just have to pat them on the back and go, guys, we just come from abundance. We are not going to put you in deals that we don't feel comfortable with. At the end of the day, it's your decision, but we're going to advise you according to that. So how do we have a higher success rate? I'm going to go into about 7 or 8 things, and I would think multiple offers for now. First thing is this. John's showing a house on the weekend. It just came on the market in Raymore, Missouri. It's $350,000 and it's a cream puff. How do you think that's going to work? Okay. So let's think about John Raymore house, 350. That means hot as a firecracker. You could say Lee Summit and you'd be in the same boat, right? So he knows this is probably going to be one that has an opportunity to go very quickly. Would you guys agree? Now, if John's showing the same house, it's been on the market 60 days with multiple price reductions, it's probably going to go at a little different pace, a little different cadence. Would you guys agree? Most likely. Still, you want to make the call, and I'll go into that here in just a second. So the main thing initially is, first of all, figure out what the heck are you offering on? Is this something that's going to be an extremely high demand, modest demand, or maybe little or no demand? Say it's an acreage out in Adrian, Missouri that's been sitting there for months and months and months. And, you've been seeing they're begging for showings or they're holding open houses and your people land on it. That's probably one they're going to be calling the ball on, right? John in Raymore, Missouri at 350. Sorry about that. Ain't going to work that way. Okay. So identify the level of interest and the need for speed of the property that you're wishing to acquire. Does that make sense? We just chased one for 500 something thousand in Lee Summit. 500,000 in Lee Summit. That's almost kind of, it feels like 300 in Raymore. I mean, it's just batshit crazy. Sorry, first cuss word. All right. So where's the swear jar? All right. That's on me. So here's what we got to do. We've got to lead off with communication. John shows the house. I'm using you on this one, John. I don't know if you're doing any Raymore stuff. John's showing the house. Immediately, as people are like, oh, John, there's no reason to even show us the other 4 houses. This is exactly what we're looking for, right? So what John needs to immediately do is determine the strength of that house. Is this one that's going to go, let's assume it's just firecracker hot, okay, just for our purposes here. Immediately, you need to get informed before you even pick up the phone and call the agent, because you don't know what to ask them yet. So what I would highly recommend you do is look at the MLS, how long has it been on the market, all that kind of stuff, day one, all that kind of stuff. Look at the agent remarks before you call the agent. Sometimes the agent remarks tell you everything you're going to ask the agent. What exactly is your seller looking for? Well, how are you going to handle multiple offers? A lot of times that's right in there, okay? Instead, we look right past that, and then we're asking questions that are already in there. That, by the way, good agents call me every time they write me an offer, and I pick up the phone. If I don't, I get back to them. But a lot of times when I say, hey, did you not see in the remarks that, I'll point out to them that they missed that. Okay. Then, oh, I'm sorry, Lonnie. It was in there and we just got going so fast. So look in the remarks and start making notes of what questions you want to ask when you do pick up the phone, because we know getting a hold of agents on a Saturday on a hot house can be difficult. Sometimes you get one crack at it. All right. So know what you're talking about. Quickly, you need to be printing the disclosure and reading it. Read it. Okay. Don't give it to them and read it. They don't even know what the hell they're reading. Okay. It's for us to look at the big rocks in that and know what to be concerned about or what not to be concerned about. Oh, by the way, just got a new roof a year ago. Feeling pretty good about the roof on that. You guys good with that? Heating, cooling, 22 years old. I need to make note of that. 22-year-old heating and cooling as you consider structuring an offer, those sorts of things. Foundation work. If I see foundation work on there, I'm kind of looking to see. A lot of times there's attachments that says, oh, by the way, this basement company did it. Here's their warranty, all that kind of stuff. Feel better about it, right? There's a lot of things we get from that disclosure, and we need to be informed before we pick up the phone and start calling the listing agent, because again, we don't know what to ask. And what you'll do is you'll pick up the phone real quick and say, hey, you got anything working? What do you think? Hey, you know, all that stuff. And then you're like, oh, shoot, I should have asked them about these 4 things. Then you're trying to call back and they already think you're not very professional. And by the way, multiple offers, who the agent is matters too. Okay. We get to pick our dance partners. I just did a co-op with in our office that they beat out the other agents because they were at Southland. Sorry about that. So we were, it was a good deal for my seller too. We've got to communicate at a much higher level than what we're doing. And when that phone call, when you're ready to make that phone call, first of all, a lot of times it's like, hey, it's Lonnie Williams. Hey, your house in Raymore, fantastic. I'm guessing you're probably going to be pretty busy on that one. And they'll laugh and go, oh yeah, about 50 phone calls. We've got dozens of showings, all that stuff. No surprise, Jenny, that house is amazing. It's really nice. My people have identified it as certainly one of their top picks, and I expect we'll want to throw our hat in the ring. How are you expecting to handle the offers for this house as we're sitting here on the weekend? And then often, if it's a good agent, they'll go, you know, I had that conversation with the seller. What we're going to do is we've chosen to go ahead and show it all day Saturday and Sunday, and then likely we'll convene on Monday and see what we have, whether that's 1 offer or 20 offers. That's a common answer that I get in this thing. And then sometimes they'll go, but by the way, my seller reserves the right to just accept anything at any time. Okay, great. So ask those questions. How about asking this question? Are you comfortable with using escalation clauses? Okay. Now we use escalation clauses quite frequently. People are using them on my listings quite frequently. I think they're an amazing tool to acquire a house. But ask the listing agent. If the listing agent isn't comfortable with that, it usually means they really aren't trained in how to use the document. But just go ahead and know that's what we got with this particular agent. Because if you go ahead and put an escalation clause with somebody that says, I'm not comfortable with that document, or some people don't believe it should be used, then guess how that's probably going to work out for you and your people. Okay. Ask the question. Okay. Now, I would say now, more often than not, there's some exceptions, but more often than not, agents are going to be are going to accept that. Would you guys agree? Is anybody running into just major headwinds on that with us? Did you? Okay. I think it's still much the exception. Okay. And I think as we get into, again, we're going to be in a low inventory market this year. We'll see more and more people are just going to have to do it. I firmly believe as a listing agent, if I'm not open to an escalation clause, I don't know that I'm giving the best path for my seller to get the optimum terms and monies. Okay. Just my way of thinking. John?
Got beat out with that escalation clause, but we did not provide a appraisal that it went. So the people that did escalate, we actually both escalated pretty much exactly the same, but they were willing to attach an appraisal to them where they could cover the cash. And our buyer had to go, you know, we had to ask the question, are you willing to cover the difference?
Yep.
And she's like, no.
You just ran way ahead of me, John. That's fantastic. Good. No, I love it.
You got beat out.
Yeah. Let's talk about the 7 or 8 basics. Okay, first of all, price. Everybody know what sales price is, offer price, list price. We're good with that. But to a seller, all that matters is net price. So if a guy has a house for John's offer at $350, hey man, we're coming in full price, and then he's asking for $4,000 in closing costs. Is that full price? That's not full price. That's $4,000 less. You guys get that? Okay. If he's asking for a warranty, it's not full price. Okay. In theory, if the seller said they're offering one, different story, but any sales price less concessions is net sales price. Now, in today's world of our commissions have to go in there too, we do need to be thinking about, are there people willing to possibly be offering less commission on the buyer side? You know what I'm saying? Jenny's doing it for 2.5 again, knucklehead, and you're asking for 3. We could be at a slight disadvantage there. That just might affect how you do the escalation clause and how high you go in the offer and things like that. So net price is all that really matters there. But do know it is not a full price deal when you put concessions in there. If you're asking them to leave their fridge, washer and dryer that they're not agreeing to leave, that's not a full price offer. Okay. You guys get that? Okay. I can't tell you how many times everybody says, well, it's full price, but we did ask for the washer, dryer, refrigerator, and their child. That's not full price. Okay. So second big rock, I'm talking about the big rocks right now. And they're pretty basic, right? Closing and possession. When I'm on the phone with an agent, the first thing I'm asking in that, I got my list and I'm going, hey, what's ideal for your seller from a standpoint of closing timeframes? Why is that important? Now, vacant house, you would assume faster the better, right? I think that's usually the case. There could be some odd exceptions. But for people living in the house, if you hit them with the 28-day closing, you think that's badass that you hit them with a 4-week closing, that could freak them out. The other offer might be 45 to 60 days, and they way prefer that. That's a better pace. remember on a 30-day closing, if it's a 10-day inspection period, and then there's potentially 5 days to hammer out that stuff, and then here comes the appraiser, it's kind of coming in hot, right? It's coming in hot. So there's a lot of uncertainty. I have a seller right now that needs to give notice at her work, but I've coached her, don't give notice till we get through the inspection period, and just to be safe, until we get through the appraisal. Okay. Now I gave her a long escrow period. So we'll have all that 30 days from closing and it'll all work out. What if that was a 30-day closing? That'd be a little risky, wouldn't it? Okay. So we're just if you want to compete, design it in the seller's interest. But if you don't ask the questions, you will not know. Okay. So a lot of times when people call me and they don't ask that, I'm like, why are you even calling me? And other than they're saying, do you have a bunch of offers and what are you going to do with them? That kind of stuff. How about ask the questions that are really, really important? So for people with a family, would I highly recommend, again, I do this all the time, Darren, I know we all look at this a little differently, is closing and possession. Okay. I try when we're writing an offer, would it be helpful for your sellers for us to close in the 45 days you suggested and give you a couple days to move? And they may say, nah, this really doesn't matter to them because as it turns out, they're getting moved by their corporation to Cleveland. So they'll be out before closing anyway. Okay, good to know. Then closing and possession on the same day is no big deal. But how about your typical seller? Okay, who they kind of need the money from closing to be able to make their physical move to their next place. If they're getting 2 or 3 days to transition, they're likey. You guys get that? Okay. That's why if you're negotiating with me, I'm going to get that from my seller, whether they want it or not. And then if we don't use it, then here, we'll give you the keys early. Okay. So are we asking that question? Are we asking these? Are we drilling down and trying to find out the answer to these things? By the way, as a whole, we're not, because our industry, you guys are calling me a lot. It's just not happening. Let's see. Okay, you could even go to the extremes. I'll just give this example where you're wanting to let them have possession for an extended period of time. Okay, when it got really competitive, when it gets really, really competitive, it could be one of those things. Would it be important for your people to be able to possibly stay for 30 days and lease back from my buyer? That's an extreme tool. Okay, and wow, could that be a difference maker for some people? Now, then you decide, is there an amount of rent that goes along with that? Maybe it's just a courtesy. I really want my people to get it. We're going to let you live there rent free for 30 days. We do want proof that you have insurance in place for your personal property. We're going to let you rent back for 30 days. Okay. Now you may say, hey, normal rent for a house like that's $2,500 a month. We'll give it to you for $1,200 a month. Keep the utilities in your name, that kind of stuff. But again, you're doing some stuff that the other 5 agents calling them haven't even brought up. Okay. And some agents just send offers and don't even talk about any of this stuff. Again, I want to improve our win rate within what we can control. Okay. Again, if some knucklehead's going to do something crazy, we're going to lose. Okay. But I want to know that we turned over every rock and possibility for those people. Now, there are many buyers that aren't going to close and let somebody rent their house back for 30 days. So this is not for everybody. But what about the guy that has another house and they're going to slowly transition into it anyway? That could be the ideal buyer that could do something like that and bring that. Ryan, did you have something? Oh, okay. Scratching. Be careful, you scratch on who you get called on. Okay. So those are tools, right? Earnest deposit. If I see another $500 or $1,000 earnest deposit on one of my listings, I'm gonna lose it. Sorry about that. So what are we doing, guys? I bought a house in Arizona and I asked the agent, solid agent, I go, hey, what's customary in your market? And she goes, it is really rare that somebody doesn't put up at least 1% on these houses, right? And so I was in multiple offers. She was coaching me, right? And knowing that I know the business. And she goes, Solani, I would do at least that. Guess what we did? We went 4 times that. I wanted to show, hey, if you go with me, you've got a solid buyer, right? And I don't know if that's going to help get us the house, but we got the house. Okay. So it worked out good. Now, when your buyer goes, oh, I don't want to put up all that money. Why is that? It's not at risk. It's only at risk if you don't execute good faith. Okay. Are you going to execute good faith, Jimmy? Well, yes. What are you worried about? Right. Okay. Just something to think about. If they don't execute good faith, we got bigger problems. Earnest money does matter. So do not just default to the smallest number that comes to mind. Okay. Now, we all do USDA and VA deals, and some of those situations our people don't have much liquidity. Has anybody run into that? They're buying a $400,000 house and they don't have $4,000 to put up. Okay. Or they do, but they won't have it for a week or two. Has anybody run into that? I have. then sometimes what you can do, it's in your contract already, put $1,000 up with a notation, buyer will put an additional X amount up upon resolution of inspection items, okay? That gives you 10 days, right? Does that make sense? That's a good straight. And then you bring that up to the agent. Hey, just so you know, our total earnest will be 5. We're staggering it this way because of where we're getting our monies, that kind of thing. To me, I'm good with that because it's post-inspection where the earnest money has the glue factor, where it can keep somebody in the saddle if things are going awry, okay? Because let's face it, while you're still in your inspection period, people could just cancel on you and there's nothing you can do, right? You guys, gray period, I tell everybody that. Hey, these deals can be canceled quite easily. After that, the earnest money is what keeps them in the saddle when all of a sudden they see a cooler house come on the market, or all of a sudden they were driving by the house and they realize they don't really like that neighbor. He's a junky guy, that kind of, right? Those kind of things happen. 1,000, people are like, hey, they can have my earnest money. 5,000, not gonna do it. I'm just telling you that right now. It's a different, they could, but very, very unlikely. Does that make sense? So think about earnest money differently. Anybody have anything to add on any of that so far? What's that? I missed the question. It's right on the first page there. Yeah.
Earnest money and additional.
Yeah, you guys, earnest money, and then there's the one that no one ever uses, additional earnest money. You can just write it in. Yeah. It says the number of days, I think, on there or something like that. And if not, you could put it in just additional earnest. There's plenty of room. Yeah, just take a closer look at it. You'll see. It's self-explanatory, right? Now, builders will require stuff like that. Sometimes when you're custom building, they'll let you put up a kind of a nominal deposit. But once they start breaking ground and you start picking out the crazy stuff, they want real money in hand. Sometimes they'll stagger that. Their contracts, you'll see multiple stages of deposit in new construction, right, Chris? We see that quite a bit. I know Summit, some of those guys, that's how they operate. Okay, let's talk about inspection details. First of all, I think when you're representing a buyer, if you can condense the inspection period, if you're going to have inspections, that's probably preferred by the seller. Would you guys agree for all practical purposes? Be sure you give yourself ample time. And if you're doing septic and all that, be sure you have ample time to do all that stuff. Don't put a 5-day inspection period, which sounds groovy, and you know it's going to be impossible to hit. That's a hot mess express from day one. So don't do that. But do shorten that period. I think that's going to serve you really, really well. I'll talk about waivers and partial waivers here in a second because I think that's the main thing I want to focus on today. Escalation addendum, you guys are starting to get really good at using that document. I think you're missing the boat on, let's just use John's $350,000 house. I think you're missing the boat if you're using an escalation addendum where you say you'll go 1,000 above, or God forbid, 500 above the next highest offer. Because really there's so many other small factors that could cause you to lose the house. Even if you're the best price by 1,000 or 500, you may not get the house anyway. So 2,000 for me is the magic number for most price ranges. And as the price goes higher, 5,000 above, 10,000 above, when you get up in the luxury price range, not uncommon at all. So be thinking about that differently. Any questions on that? Escalation addendum. By the way, your escalation addendum has a cap on it. So John's people it's a $350,000 house. They'll write the offer at $350,000. They'll go $2,000 above the next bona fide offer to $370,000, let's say. Okay, that's a big one, but let's just say they really want to give themselves a great chance. That's a good solid offer, isn't it? $2,000 above, you bet. And we're using that tool now in our office at a really high level, and we're having some success. I just think there's some other tools we're going to incorporate in a second that we can kind of pile on and have even higher success rates. Who's used an escalation addendum? Most everybody? Okay. Is anybody scared to death of it? I was forever. So, and we actually a former broker that she didn't want us using them. So it's just, it's different, but now it's becoming more accepted probably after time as we've had, this kind of market for a long, long time. As is addendum, our favorite, right? Okay. Let's talk about an as is addendum. First of all, everybody know what box 1, 2, and 3 mean. Let's start with 3. 3 says you're not inspecting anything. Okay. That's not for everybody, guys. Okay, I know John's people want the house more than life itself. Are they financially capable of buying a house with a complete question mark? Now, they may say, yeah, John, we are. My dad's in construction. Honestly, these people put a new roof on. Heating, cooling's 2 years old. I mean, honestly, what could really go wrong? Okay, we can see the foundation. We're comfortable with it. Maybe that is a box 3 client. Okay, but for the most people, box 3 is not going to be a great fit. Now, are people that have a lot of cash and liquidity, box 3 is something they often are comfortable with because they're like, hey, this is all within the realm of what we can handle, okay? Also, if your buyer's buying a house, it's a complete demo, basically. Box 3 is just fine in most cases because at the end of the day, they're gutting it anyway. Okay, so to me, those are kind of the extremes. Maybe they're buying a Summit Custom Homes house that's 3 or 4 years old. It's impeccable. It's all but a brand new house. That might be an example of box 3 that could be used to win. Okay. I don't even know the last time we've used box 3 other than something that was just a complete piece. Anybody using box 3? Yeah, because they're gutting the house, but for all,
No inspections, cannot cancel.
yeah, there is no ability to cancel based on inspections because there's no inspections, right?
The biggest risk you're taking is, as Russell would point out, you don't get to check sewer, so.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
Say you could check box 3 and sellers intentionally was hiding something. Is there anything that you can go back on?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, then that wouldn't matter what box you're checking. If somebody fails to disclose something in a real estate transaction, they have liability. Now, whether somebody will pursue it's a whole different story. That's the other thing about these contracts. These contracts are actually ironclad, guys. Attorneys have been pounding away on these for years to create an amazing document. That being said, if you're not willing to invest some money with an attorney, and by the way, an attorney that will go and press, it won't serve you really, really well. So threatening letters can do a lot of stuff. I send a lot of those out personally. As is addendum. So box 2, I don't even know why we have box 2. Box 2 is stupid. I'm just going to say that right now. The board of realtors is having more problem with box 2 than anything. Box 2 is the dumb one that says, we're getting inspections, but it's just for our informational purposes or some shit like that, right? Okay. Sorry, cuss word 2. Long weekend. That's 3. Brandy's keeping track. School teacher. So, why? Okay, first of all, is anybody using box 2? Oh, you did? Okay. Why? Just tell us why you would use it. Just because. Yeah.
And had a lift station, so city sewer, but it's a low-lying area, so they're lifting their sewer up to the city.
Okay.
Sewer at flow out.
Right.
Thing that the buyer wanted. Otherwise, I think he came to us wanting to throw a 3 at it or whatever, and we're like, well, okay, but are we sure? And then he's like, well, we need to understand the lift station, because it's not something that we deal with a lot. I've only dealt with lift station maybe a couple of times.
Yeah.
So I wasn't real familiar on it, so I wanted to understand it as well, and so we basically used it to communicate to the other agent that we intend to only inspect the lift station.
Okay.
And that he's perfectly fine with everything else through the house, because he's a construction guy.
Okay.
So we kind of did a hybrid approach on
Yeah.
that.
Because that's not technically box 2. Box 2 says I'm inspecting it, and no matter what comes up, I have no ability to cancel. That's what, if that guy said lift stations are crap and now I'm uncomfortable with the house, tech contractually has no right out of the thing. Unless you do what John did, where he modified it in some way, saying the box 2 is for our information. We're inspecting for info, and the only cancelable item would be lift station. He could put that all in there if he chose to do that. That's actually a strategy we're going to get into here in a second. Thanks, John. That's twice you've led me down the right path. So understand box 1, 2, and 3 when they should be used. And box 1, the most common one, says, we're doing inspections, but we do not have the right to propose repairs. Okay. Simply, it is this. If you read the contract, it is take it or leave it. Okay. It is take it or leave it. So when you guys call and you go, oh yeah, well, we found this or we found radon or all that stuff, it's take it or leave it. You might get an agent where you come back and say, hey, Alani, we like the house. Obviously, you guys didn't know it had major structural. We didn't know. We would still like to work something out. Box 1 says we're going to take it or leave it contract. What do you want to do? You're going to chew this ground with the next buyer. So would you rather chew the ground with us? And that's where I step back, consult with the seller and go, hey, here's what we found out. These people have no right to cancel. We can let them go, but I'm not sure that's in our best interest. And then we talk about it. Because if I'm going to have to chew the ground with the next buyer, shouldn't I maybe try to just solve it with these people first? You guys get that? But that listing agent has no obligation to do that to you. And if you come up with this, usually it's more like this. Here's this laundry. Oh, it has so many things wrong with it. We're right on the edge of canceling unless we decide to go. And you're looking at it and it's, it's stupid things with outlet covers and stuff like that. You're like, really? That should not have been a box 1. Okay. Got it? Anybody we use box 1? Do we use box 1? We use box 1 a lot. Yeah. Box 1's pretty common, right? But if your only out is if you run into major interference on the house, don't just give it up because you're in box one. Have a conversation. I got to pick up the phone again. No texting. I got to actually talk to somebody, and I'm going to talk through that and say, hey, versus us potentially cancel, would you want to try to work out this large item that we've come across on this house? And the agent doesn't owe you anything to do that, just FYI. Okay. So, but I've had that come up in our Swaggart and I did that, but we had a $10,000 surprise. We didn't know anything about it. And are we going to let his people off the hook? Do we had a great contract and chew the ground with the next guy, or just see if we can keep him in the saddle? We chose. Darren, that's a simple way, is just say, now, what would you say? Box one is no longer applicable, or yeah, the whole thing. Yeah, there you go. So you're deleting the in its present condition. You might even define exactly how much longer you have an inspection period if you need more time. I don't know what that looks like, but just you can't put too much information out there. Darren, you got.
If you're negotiating repairs, just remove that addendum.
Okay. So let's talk about the next two are the big rocks here for me. Appraisal waiver. Okay. We are having people do either complete appraisal waivers or partial appraisal waivers. Now that doesn't mean their lender isn't necessarily not doing the appraisal. Just FYI, most of the time lenders still doing the appraisal. Now here's an example of where a full appraisal waiver is a great idea for your buyer. Okay. $500,000 house, your people putting 200 grand down. Who gives a flip what it appraises at? Okay, for all practical purposes, your people have looked at 40 houses, they're appraisers themselves. Who cares if it comes in at 490? It's not going to throw it into PMI or any of that kind of stuff. Personally, in those high down payment, I think I might just put a full appraisal waiver on almost every offer. Okay, Bank's still going to do one. There's just no coming back to that listing agent saying, hey, it only appraised at 490. We need to renegotiate, right? What are your thoughts, Todd?
But to your point, someone's put a giant down payment down. Let the lender run through their automated model, go back.
Sometimes it's waived ahead of time.
But on conventional, I could run the address to it ahead of time. Freddie, you might have that option of saying, you don't need to worry about a value situation from that, and you get a true lender.
Yeah. So so all true. Now let's move a little further on in this conversation. So $500,000 house, we pay $525. My people have a lot of liquidity. They're maybe putting $200-300 down, full appraisal waiver. That's just what I'm going to do. Okay. That's what I choose to do on that. And I'll explain to them why. Guys, if I come back and say it appraised at 480, do you give a flip? No. Okay. And by the way, we've seen 10 houses. It's worth every bit of what we're paying for it. Okay. That's all I needed to hear to know that's a client that's made for that. If you have somebody tied on cash, appraisal waiver doesn't work because Todd's going to go, hey, that's cool that they're willing to waive the appraisal. But if this thing comes in low, they can't cover the gap. We call that the gap, right? So in a $500,000 purchase and they're paying $525, they put in their buyer will cover the appraisal gap up to $25,000 in that example. They better have $25,000 of spare cash laying around. You guys get that? Okay. Sometimes what they're planning on putting down might get rid of PMI, but now they would have PMI. There's a lot of different factors that you guys are going to have to think about. But I will say this, the partial appraisal waiver needs to be used a lot more than it's being used. We have lost out on deals. And I'm now starting to see this on my listing. That's why I'm talking about it today. And people are using it very, very successfully on my listings. They're coming in and saying, hey, Lon, you have $300,000 house. We're at 315. We're giving you a $15,000 appraisal waiver. So as long as it appraises at 300, we're good. If it doesn't, if it comes at 305, 310, non-factor. You guys get that? Think about the partial appraisal waiver and where that could be the right fit. Todd?
They had to pay so much above list to get the house. So what I did is I structured the PMI. We knew we were probably going to fall into a PMI situation where they wouldn't get a true 20% down if they didn't appraise. So I structured the PMI instead of going into monthly payments, you do what they call a single premium PMI. So I go in there and go, they had great credit and all these things, they helped reduce it down. So really, it's just meant that they can get it and then their PMI, they're just $1 amount that they included with their down payment. So it may end up being like $400,000 on purchase, they end up being, $1,500, $2,000. They'd increase their payment in the monthly PMI instead of the premium PMI. There's just a strategy to get them to be comfortable with, it missing the appraisal. Still hitting PMI technically, but we were able to structure that PMI where it's safe.
Conversation with a lender will go a long way. So think about appraisals. Now let's get into the other one we're seeing. Darren, do you have something? Okay. Darren has a question. We got it here. Yeah, you don't switch around here. Don't scratch anything. The inspection waivers, okay, from the limited inspection waivers. And here's where I'm going to go with this. John's writing an offer on that house and he says, hey, my people want to do an inspection. Okay. Therefore they're going to do an inspection, but he's going to write right in there, they're only inspecting the sewer line and the structure. Okay. Because everything else looks pretty good. And those are two big, would you guys agree? Structural and sewer are two big ones. So they're basically saying as is on the entire house, except they want to just check that the sewer line's okay. And maybe if they wanted a structural report because they saw some cracks or something like that. That's a partial. You guys get that? Could that be effective versus somebody who is asking to inspect the whole house? Trust me, that's a big deal. Okay. So he's saying this is all we're choosing to inspect. Or he can state in there, these are the only two items that are cancelable. Everything else is as is. We're going to inspect all these things, but these are the only two things we could potentially cancel on. You can also do dollar amounts, and this is what we just ran into, where the people said, nothing is an unacceptable condition unless the single item is greater than 5,000 or 2,000 or whatever that amount is. That's what I'm seeing a lot on my listings right now. Okay. You guys know what I'm talking about at all? Some do, some don't. That just simply means, hey, we're going to do inspections, but we cannot propose a repair unless the single item is greater than $2,000. So hot water heater? No. Dishwasher? Stove? No. Radon? No. 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 A lot of stuff becomes no. Okay. But boom, here comes something big. Okay. Then all of a sudden we have a conversation. I think to me, those are wins. And that's a great tool for a buyer because they're covered with something catastrophic, like we talked about earlier, that was really scary. But the other stuff that's sort of manageable, they can handle. Now, the problem you can run into with some of these houses is you could end up, if you said, hey, we can't cancel or ask for repairs on anything above less than 2,000, and you got 40 things that are 500 to 1,500 a piece. You have a house that's got a lot wrong with it, and you have no recourse. So none of these systems are perfect, okay? And if we don't understand this, and this is where Nanette and I got to get better. We've got to be able to have that conversation. We're here to consult our people, not ask them about this. We have to explain to them their options and where this could be good and where this has some faults. You guys get that? And if you're not, we're kind of just starting down this path. So don't expect to master this today, but understand where these conversations could be really, really valuable. Anybody have anything to add to that? Ryan. Mm-hmm.
Go back to the contract and read it. It's single item. You don't just start stacking stuff on it. Hey, we're over 5,000, so we want all this stuff fixed. I'm like, yeah, no. I don't think we finished that in our contract.
Yeah.
But again, make sure you look at the language. Be very specific on how things are written there. It matters because you do want that recourse to be able to knock them down.
Yeah. I love these offers where the people are putting limited stuff they're inspecting, where they're just like, oh, we're going to inspect the house, but the only thing that would be considered unacceptable would be anything structural or, we're structure and sewer, those kind of things. We're doing one right now where the only thing they're inspecting is radon and a sewer. Yeah, that was pretty attractive to us. Okay. Think outside the box here. Again, what we're trying to do is if 10 of us are making an offer and 7 of us typically are winning, we want 8 or 9 of us to win. Okay. And again, there's going to be those deals we're not going to win no matter what because people are doing crazy stuff. Any questions so far on the things we talked about? Okay. Now I'll put a bow on this with this. As buyers, representing our buyers, we've got to understand these things at a high enough level to be able to explain it to them before the frenzy of, oh crap, this is the house we want to buy. We've got to have that conversation during the process. So either at consultation. Okay, thanks. So let me see what she's gave me a percentage. Okay, so when Swagger stole our house from us, wish he was here. Here's what he put in there, but his people got it. Pursuant to the inspection contingency, buyer will not request seller repairs, credits, or price reductions for repairs totaling less than $5,000 per individual item. Okay, see how that works? Now, guess what? Something 10 came up, so we ended up hammering it out. But I wasn't worried about radon. I wasn't worried about any of this other crap, a bad window, any of that kind of stuff. But we did end up with one big booger. So, but anyway, the way he worded that was crystal clear to me. It was easy to convey to the seller. It was easy to pull back out when he hit me with, hey, we got a problem. And I'm like, wait, I thought no, we waived everything that was 5,000 or under. Okay. What's that? I'll leave it up here and you can read it afterwards, okay? Anybody that wants to come check it out, because I got one more thing to cover. So as buyer's agents, we've got to have the conversation way before Chris Bradley goes and shows them a house on a Saturday and they dig it more than anything in the world. We have to explain to them the different categories that we negotiate in houses: price, closing dates, earnest money, why it's important, why it's not really at risk, all the things I just talked about, and then get into some of the peripheral things of limited inspection items and things like that, what Scott just did on ours, those kind of tools, so they're at least aware of them. Now, when you get in the frenzy, they're going to forget all that. So just so you know, you'll have to remind them of their option. It is not our job to go to them and say, what do you want to do, Mr. and Mrs. Jones? Mr. and Mrs. Jones aren't licensed realtors. They haven't bought a house before, okay? Or they haven't bought in 20 years. They forgot what it was even all about. It's for us to decipher the market that they're competing in and tell them what's in their best interest. Again, the decision's theirs, right? So if somebody asks me on earnest money, I'm pretty much going to say, I feel like 1% is kind of the number in our market. I do see some deals coming in for less than that, but also some buyers will come in and go strong above that. Well, why would we do that, Lonnie? Because explain to them why earnest money does matter. Post-inspection, it's the glue that keeps people in the saddle should something go awry. You guys get that? Okay. So we've got to be able to have these conversations with the people. Again, you're assessing the buyer's liquidity. Are these people that can take a little bit of risk in some of the manners we talked about with partial appraisal waivers, inspection, limited inspection items and things like that, or are they not? Not all buyers can do the things we're talking about. Guys, we have buyers that can't buy a house without their closing costs being paid, right? Even though we know how hard it's going to be to get closing costs paid in a given price range in a given market. So we've got to read the disclosures. I talked about that. We've got to read the agent notes and then interact at the highest level we can with the listing agent. All those things are going to improve your chances, I promise you. You guys, I've told you the story of winning a house in Loch Lloyd. We won it not by our terms. We won it with our bedside manner. We just simply didn't put the heat on the listing agent that these other really aggressive agents, who I know really well, were pounding on her, putting her under strain and the seller under strain. And I knew the background of both situations. Instead, we took the high road and just kind of said, hey, what's in your best interest? How can we best work together with you? And by the way, what's a good time frame for you to make a decision? These other people were like, I want a decision by 8 a.m., that kind of stuff. We took the opposite approach. We got the house and they didn't. So I think the tools that we used and the way we interacted with that agent were the reason. Okay. Any questions on what we just talked about? I see a lot of confusing looks. So the partial waivers for inspection items, partial for appraisal, I think we're going to have to utilize those in the hottest price ranges and things like that.
There's a form for that in our.
Oh yeah. Yeah, guys, the forms are out there. Get to know them. By the way, it's hard to explain these things if you don't know how you're going to fill out the form and utilize it. Don't learn it Saturday morning, okay? Because a lot of us get in those pressures. It seems like a lot of listings are coming on Friday and Saturday right now, and then boom, it's just busy season. Again, I like bringing the listing on during the week where we can, just because I don't want to be jacking with this on Saturday and Sunday. If I could pound this thing out during the business week, I'd prefer to do it.
I forget what it's called. Do you know, Darren, what it's called? It's not an appraisal waiver, because I'm with Todd on
Yeah,
the waiver.
yeah, I'm sorry.
Well, I call it appraisal gap coverage, because we understand gap coverage
Yeah.
on a car.
Right.
So if there's a gap, are we going to fill the whole gap, or are we going to fill part of it? That's my
A
term for it.
A full appraisal waiver, you just go, whatever the paragraph is on the contract for appraisals, you said paragraph 6 is no longer applicable. That easy. That's the appraisal.
There we go. Thank you, Tim.
Yeah. So that is no longer applicable, but you explain to them if you're waiving it completely, let the listing agent know. She's still going to get a call from the appraiser most likely, right? Just because that says, oh, well, wait a minute, I'm not letting anybody in. You guys waived the appraisal. They're still going to do it. It's just not germane. The results aren't germane to the outcome. Okay. Just doesn't matter. We're willing to take on that risk. Okay. That's a lot of meat and potatoes, especially the last two parts. You guys look really confused. So that's exactly what we're trying to do. Let's go sell some houses. Finish strong, guys.
Thank you, very good.
Yeah, we're seeing that, those tools. If you can use them and explain them, not just use them, but explain them, because here's what's gonna happen, especially out in these rural areas, you're probably gonna have to explain it to the listing agent,
Right.
right? So not only are you trying to explain it to your client, but you also have to explain it to the listing agent without sounding condescending and things like that. Because if you send in something that says, hey,